Hello, good day. Welcome to the Legacy Continues podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. About our guest today that has decided to join me, I have my friend Jael.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jael, for being willing to come. I know this isn't your comfort zone, but she's got such an extraordinary story, and just a story of redemption and just perseverance, and just a beautiful redeeming story. And so as we reflect, we know that as we share what God has done in our lives, that if someone hears it, the Lord will do it again, and He can do it again for them. So it's important that we share what the Lord has done. So with that being said, Jael, will you give a little bit of your story? Just,
Sure.
What's brought you here? We'll start to the Lovelady Center first.
Okay, we'll do that. I love when people say, "How did you get here?" or "What brought you here?" I did not come here by choice. It was not my first choice. I was brought here in 2015, I believe, after I lost everything due to some horrible decisions of my own. And I was court ordered. So I remember walking through the doors in handcuffs and shackles, like many of the ladies that end up here, thinking that I had lost everything, my whole life was over, there was nothing left. But that is the beauty of the Lord, and the beauty of how He can take anything, any mistake that you make, and He can turn it to your good. So after I was in here about a year, yep. So I was court ordered here for a year, but I do remember once I got here, I remember just saying I had a choice to make. You're either going to continue to do what you're doing, you're going to continue in the mindset that you're in, which has not served you well at all, or you're going to pick up the pieces and you're going to do something different. Oddly enough, when I was arrested and went to jail, that's where I found the Lord.
Okay, so you when you got here, you had already had an aha moment with the
Yes.
Lord. Okay.
I was raised in church, and my mom is a praying woman. Thank God for praying mothers. But I never knew the Lord. Like, I knew of Him, and honestly, I blamed Him for a lot of things that didn't go right in my life. I was a very spoiled brat, and was very unappreciative, and anything that wasn't done correctly or wasn't given to me, it was the Lord's fault. God's just mad at me. God doesn't, it was never anything I did.
I would never think that. I know that you like things a particular way, but I would have never known that it was your way or no way kind of thing.
Yeah, I was not a very, very sweet person. That being said, though, I just blamed God for everything. Like, it was just the easiest thing for me to do, because He wants to take accountability for their own actions, right? Okay. Nobody wants to do that. So after the loss of my husband in 2009, I dove pretty deep into addiction. And that was just another thing for me to blame on the Lord. Like,
so your husband passed in 2009, and you spiraled out of control, more or less. And then in 2015, you found yourself court ordered here.
Yes.
So you came by yourself with handcuffs and and everything. Okay. And then I'm learning stuff already. I did not. I knew that when you got here that you were still in a place of grief somewhat.
Oh yeah.
And I did not realize that it had been 5 or 6 years since your husband's passing. Yeah. But I knew that was something that you definitely had to learn to walk through. I know that, I know still grieve today, but there's a process. So, grieving widow, you had two children, and so I know that as you came into the program, and I know that your children eventually joined you, which is something that I wanted us to, highlight today, because you did that well, and I know that you just currently your children. I know one just graduated college,
Yes.
and the other one is
High school, just graduated high
just
school. Going to
graduated high
college
school,
in the
going
fall.
in, yeah, going into
Yes.
college. So when I think about these two children that went through some trauma,
Yeah, for sure.
lost their
Their
father,
father, their house, everything they ever knew.
lost, and then just anyway, beautiful story. I know we're going to work towards that point. So, came to the Lovelady Center. You already knew Jesus, and you decided it was time. Was there a defining moment, or was there something here that were you just steady, ready to walk it out when you got here, or were there things that you had to fight through?
Both.
Okay.
Like I said, when I was in jail, that was the first time that I really had I had to let it go. I realized then that I was a super control freak. And I freaked myself out about everything. I was panicking every day that a jumbo jet was going to fall out of the sky onto my children. I was panicking about everything in life, about every little detail and things that weren't. And I was like, whoa, you can't live like this. And I was like, just take it. I was, grieving, very upset. I'm panicking over our cars, our house, everything that life throws at you. And it's all the wrong things.
Okay.
Right. So I'm worried about things that can be restored. And then obviously the fear of anything happening to my children after what we just went through. I think that's something that people that suddenly lose someone they're close to, it's like a trauma thing that you have to work through. So I just surrendered to the Lord in that jail cell and started reading the Bible. And then I was physically embraced. And it's the hardest thing for me to explain, but I felt like the Lord hugged me. And at that moment, there was this peace. And I was like, it doesn't matter. Even if I never see my children again, this is not the end. Right. And that peace brought me through. And I prayed and prayed. I knew people had come to the Lovelady before. I've heard about the Lovelady. And I had never really gotten treatment before. I had addiction my whole life and didn't really realize it. In college, I was always a party girl. Wherever we went, I wanted to party. Hey, you're just here to have a good time. That was really all, And then as a young mother, painkillers was something that was frequently prescribed to all of us, and didn't realize that I had such a dependency on them. It got to where I didn't want to work, didn't want to cook dinner, or it was hard for me to do anything normal without it. I would have to take painkillers to go to recitals. I would have to take painkillers to go to softball. I'd have to take painkillers to do anything that a normal mother would do. And I just felt trapped. There was nothing, I couldn't tell anybody. That's what everybody does. They drink wine and they take painkillers and,
okay. So you were stuck in a cycle.
Yeah. Bad cycle.
And repetitive, just constantly doing it. And so then, so in the jail cell, when you surrendered your life to the Lord, then you came here, walked through these doors, and you decided, I'm going to do this thing.
I did. And I remember whoever was at the front desk, as they were unshackling me, she was like, we love you. And I remember looking at her, and I probably looked crazy. And she was like, we love you. And I was like, thinking, no, you don't, lady. You have no idea who I am. And if you did, you would not. That's all I could think. But then walking around to intake, I was just, that kind of threw me. I was just like, why would she just say that like that? But I felt, all I could hear was refuge.
Okay.
Refuge. And the aha moment at the Lovelady Center, I remember praying. I was in phase 1 and I kept praying, I need you to show me. I have a real difficult time loving people. People are not my favorite thing.
I was wondering when you said that, when she said that she loved you, was it because you didn't feel lovable, or because you didn't really I don't want nothing to do with you for real?
Both.
Okay.
I used to be an extrovert. And then I realized on this journey through the Lovelady Center that I was an extrovert because of what other people thought
Okay.
of me, or what the persona that I was supposed to keep up. And growing up the way I did, you were to be seen, not heard. You were to look presentable, speak presentable, and cause no issues. And so everything about my life was built upon how you look, how you spoke, your accomplishments,
Okay.
not really about you and who
Okay.
you are,
Okay.
you know? And so I realized that being an extrovert and around people, I didn't want to be alone. I couldn't sit alone. I couldn't be with me. And so I had to surround myself with people that I thought cared for me.
Okay.
And so it's funny because Jesus is about loving people and he is about showing people the light. And I struggle with that a lot because I'm like, Lord, I don't want to be around people. I don't want to talk to people. I want to be with you and my dog and just be. Let me paint something, let me study, let me read a book. But interacting to me is like, it's very exhausting. I have
Okay.
my social batteries about this much.
Okay.
But I remember I was having a really hard time with that, and I was sitting in devotion, and I said, Lord, just let me see what you see, because I don't see it. And I just want to strangle 99% of the people that I see.
Oh, Lord.
And all of a sudden, it was like he lifted this veil off my eyes.
Okay.
And every person that I was looking at in that devotion area was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen.
Aren't they though?
They are.
Aren't they though?
They
Yes.
are. And I was like, oh, wow. This
That's
is what
how
you see.
I know. I know. It,
And so, and it was gone as quick as it came. And I was like, and he was like, you may not see what I see. And I was like, oh, man, like this is
yeah.
something I really need to work on.
Okay.
So after that, I just tried to keep that perspective. This is all carnal. It all ends. But the souls and the spirits that the Lord is trying to minister to, those are eternal.
Man. Yeah, so and that's beautiful. And knowing how passionate you are about your calling in life right now, and how you love to help people.
Yes.
I love that how the Lord's just intertwined. Where you didn't have this love for people, but you've given through Him. We learn to love.
Yeah.
And then we and how He gives us passion and purpose, and it's beautiful. And we're going to get a little more into that. But so I'm going to talk. So your kids, I know,
Yes.
came. How long had you been in the program when your two children joined you?
I was here about 2 months.
Okay.
Maybe a month, 2 months. That was a rough one. Just they grew up in a very stable household and had lived there pretty much their whole lives. And so for their house and their animals and their whole life to just be ripped up from underneath them, how do you fix that? Right? How do you damage control? And I had such a need to fix what I had broken and didn't know how. But being here, it was a refuge. Like, I didn't want to bring my children here because in my head, I'm like, you're in a rehab facility. Like, why would you want to bring your children here? But it on the outside is one thing, but when you're here inside this place, it's a whole other. You're in a complete safe place to pick up the pieces and rebuild. And when they came here, I was like, how am I going to do this? How is this going to work? I'm panicking again about schools and what schools are good around here. I'm not from this area, so there's like a ton of research. And of course, the Lord.
Yeah, Lord intervened there.
The Lord
for sure.
intervened there because that was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Education, my children's education, and being in a safe school was top priority.
Yeah.
And so
when it came to doing like the program, so say if a mother's watching, or and they're thinking and about like, because you were you're a very focused person, so you made it look pretty easy. And I know it wasn't because, like, I know I think you want to tell them about when you met Mom.
Yeah.
So I know you and Mom had a special relationship. One because, like you said, you like to paint.
Yes.
And Mom likes to paint. So I
Yes.
know that y'all had several connections, but I know the first connection I think was a little adventurous, right?
It really was.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, especially when Mr. John tells it. He says, "I think somebody misread the tea leaves." Is how- so there was a box
I'm gonna scoot
outside.
this just a little closer so
Yeah.
Rodney doesn't
Doesn't
strangle us.
strangle me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I remember there was a box outside. At that point in time, I tried to homeschool because I could not find a school.
Okay.
And so through the end of that semester, I was homeschooling and I was working in education with Miss Connie as a tutor. And I remember my client rep, Monica Wesson at that time, calling me. And she was like, "Can you come meet me in Miss Brenda's office?" And immediately panicked. I'm like,
It's Miss Brenda's office.
I know. I'm like,
As they call it the Oval Office.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not an Oval Office, Sean.
I was like, I've never even met her before at this point.
Okay.
And so I come up there and she was like, "Why are the children not in school? And, why was there a box outside the door?" And all these, she was like, and then I went in there and, I don't know, I remember what she said. One of them just kind of like didn't even answer me. And I was like, and if you know my kids, they are not disrespectful at all, but they are very like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Like I've been caught.
Right,
and then Mom,
Right.
my mom, I mean, she can be a little
She's a
intimidating.
little-
yeah.
yeah.
But I remember she was like, they won't even speak to me.
Yes. And my kids are like, I don't know what to say. I don't know who this lady is, like coming in the room, And so I went into your mom's office and I was, finally I just kind of broke down. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to figure out what to do with schools. The schools around here are horrible. They're horrible. Have you seen their ratings? And she was like, well, she asked me to bring their report cards and stuff and bring me their work. And she was looking over it and she was like, okay, they make pretty good grades, And she was like, well, we're just going to have to figure this out. Let's figure it out. Let's get Connie. We need to figure out and get them a computer. And just at that point, and then she was like, we'll get a tutor. Because I was like, I'm trying to work and I'm trying to get, like, my daughter's very, proactive about her schoolwork.
Yeah.
My son is not. They are like night and day.
I think so. You realized you had a team behind you at that point.
Yes.
Realized you had a team, and which is what I think we do pretty good here. Is what we try when we see that we've got some certain. We're not cookie cutter.
Right.
Not everything works for the same
Right.
person. So sometimes we have to work hard at trying to figure out what works for this one.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember when all of it started going down because I was a little familiar with the situation. I knew how concerned you were, and so I was like, this can only get better for real. But but I was a little anxious how it was going to go, and I know it ended up beautiful.
Yes.
And I know that like we said, your daughter just graduated college, and super. And I know that she won some writing awards. Just absolutely beautiful. And even when you read about her experience here, living at the Lovelady Center, how what it meant to her, which is pretty special. So I know it's something that's
Absolutely.
and if anyone's listening, I know she had written an art. Not, I hope there are plenty listening, but anyone that wants to listen, that wants to know a little more about Tori's story, it's in the Portraits of Hope book. I don't know if you can see it on here. I'm gonna grab it, Roddy. Just so that you can see it. Tori's story is in the Portraits of Hope book, right there in that one.
She's a phenomenal writer.
Yes. So so I want to go. So you graduated the program 2016.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so then you and I know you didn't. I'm going to say disappear, but you didn't disappear immediately. But you did. You eventually, like, I never heard from you. I think Mike would come to the thrift store sometimes.
Yeah,
maybe after you graduated. So when you graduated, you went and did your own thing for a little while. And during that season, from what I understand, you went to school full time.
Yep.
You worked full time, and then your two children were a full-time mom, right? And so, and I know that's really hard to balance. And this is all coming into a place of recovery,
Yeah.
and so during that season, I mean, how did you? I know a lot of moms, especially some people newly in recovery. How did you balance all that?
So when I left here with a mindset of when I was here, I decided to take advantage of the time, right? You take advantage of the time and you start working out your issues because once you're out there, and I knew that, you have tennis and soccer and after school activities and late night homework and early mornings for work and grocery store and all the things that come along with just living life, right? And they're all great things, but they're also all taxing things.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember when I was in jail praying to the Lord, can I please let me sit in traffic again? Please let me stand in line at a grocery store again.
Okay.
And so I grabbed onto those
So
things.
you desired that normalcy.
Yes. I was like,
with,
I don't ever,
without the addiction. Yeah.
right. I don't ever want to take for granted these things that we get to do every day that are daunting and they are taxing. But when it's taken from you, you acquire a quick appreciation for it. So while I was here, and I didn't have all those distractions, I really dug deep with the Lord and I really worked on figuring out where my broken parts are. Like, you can't continue this and you can't jump out of here into the shark's pool if you still have all these broken pieces, right? It's just going to shatter them and you're going to end up right back where you're at.
Right.
So once I left, I'd made a decision. I was never going to see the look on my daughter's face or my son's face again of disappointment. Like, it's ingrained in my head because it's not something that was common knowledge that I was in an active addiction. And when my daughter found out at 11 years old, when she looked at me and was like, I don't even know who you are. Like her whole life had been a lie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, no, we'll never do this ever again. But then I also remembered who was watching me. Like, I cannot fail.
Okay.
That's not an option.
Okay.
And so I got out. I said, okay, look, we got a whole broken life, but we also have a fantastic opportunity to make life what you want it to be. Me and my husband have been together since I was 16, So I'm like, who am I without him? I had lost my identity. I was his wife. I was their mother. I was, PTA mom. I was my mother's daughter. I was all these people except Jael.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was on a journey to find myself in the Lord. And it's funny because once you figure out who you are in the Lord, that extrovert in me went away because I didn't need anything from anyone else.
Okay.
I didn't need validation. And the majority of people are seeking validation from somebody somewhere, right? And I didn't need it anymore. And the less I needed it and the more I found it in the Lord, the less I needed people, the less I needed to be around people, the less I needed to hang out with the wrong people, the less I needed to care about what anybody else thought.
Right.
And so I got out of here. We rented a house. Started working on my credit. I got a job, a pretty good job at a corporate. It was very corporate. It was always people over.
You got that job through here, right? Before you graduated.
Somebody I knew.
Yeah, before you graduated from, or
No,
right after you graduated
right
from
after I
here, you
graduated.
started there.
Yeah.
Right. And you stayed there the whole
for
time.
I was there for 6 years, and was promoted multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up with quite a few of my departments by the time I decided hygiene school.
Okay.
So that's just something I kept hearing. And hygiene school is something I wanted to do years ago, but in Daphne, where I was at, they didn't have a hygiene school. And so my mom was a nurse. And so I was like, okay, I'll just go to medical assisting school and kind of go from there. And that's what I did. And then I was a stay-at-home mom, so I didn't work. And so really having to get back out into the workforce and figure out what I wanted to do. And it's funny how the Lord puts you in where he needs you for a season. Like I needed out of that job. I was like, I can't, I'm missing out on my kid's life. I work all the time. That's all I do is I work. And it's funny that I got summoned for jury duty as a felon. And that's where the whole hygiene thing opened up.
Okay.
The Lord just kept.
So moral of the story, don't fight jury duty.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just for the record, they still hadn't asked me ever to be jury duty. But anyway, go ahead.
They sure did. And I was trying everything I could to get out. I was like, I don't think that they have done a background check or they've done their due diligence by giving me jury duty. And so I called her and she was like, well, it just depends on what's on your record, this, that, and the other thing. And I remember just sitting there and the Lord was like, just call the board and ask. Because I'd been going back and forth with going to hygiene school. And I was like, I can't do that. And that's where I learned that we stand in our own way more than anything out there.
Right.
Because I refused to listen to the Lord and what he was telling me to do because I was like, clearly you're wrong. Clearly, I'm not, I can't go to hygiene school. Like, I have something on my record.
Right. You are the one who made it hold you back when the Lord was like, no, just do it. I've got a plan. I've got a plan. If you would go, I've got a plan.
Yeah. And who would have ever thought, and that's the amazing thing about what the Lord, society. That is the amazing thing about watching the Lord and watching him work if you will just stand out of your own way.
Right.
So like I said, I kept hearing this nudge. Again, I'm a single mom. I'm working in corporate management 60 hours a week. I'm already exhausted and I'm like, but when the Lord tells you to do something, you just do it.
Right.
Right. So I called the board. The board was like, what I can tell you is I can't tell you anything. And I'm like, that's fantastic. He was like, what I can tell you is if you go to hygiene school and you submit your application for licensing, the board will review it and they will make their decision. So I knew that I was about to spend a lot of money and about 3 years in school. And I may all be for nothing.
Okay.
But I know the Lord. And over my last 6 years of walking since I had left here, because I went to school in 2019, that I had seen him do miraculous things in my life. And I was like, okay, Lord, here we go. We're just going to step out in faith. We're just going to do it. And I had to go have a meeting with the dean. And she was like, you are aware that you may not get licensing and you may not get a job. And I said, the Lord just said, ask for a mustard seed of faith. And that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And she gave me the paper to sign saying that I would still pay everything that I needed to pay, regardless of what they said. Right. Okay. So I don't know how I did it. I really don't, because clinic days are 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours. I had to work, and in order to stay in my management position, I had to work at least 40 hours per week. And so that meant I had 4 days off out of the month. That meant 12, 16-hour days. But I knew that the Lord had a purpose in it. I also knew that this was going to be a sacrifice with my children and the time that I had with them. But I knew in the long run, it's something they needed to see.
Okay.
And I knew in the long run that giving up on things or not even starting things because they're difficult and they require sacrifice is also not an option.
Okay.
You do what the Lord tells you to do. If the Lord makes a way, he will make a way.
Amen. So moving forward, because what I thought was absolutely beautiful is, so I did not know, of course I didn't know any of that, because again, you kind of went out and done your own thing. I might've seen you occasionally.
Yeah.
And then, when I had, our volunteer dentist came in and they were like, Melinda, you really need a dental hygienist that knows Lovelady. And we really, we feel like that could really help us be more effective with the with serving the women here at the center, because there's a lot of needs here, a lot of teeth needs here at the center, a lot of teeth needs. And I was like, where in the world do y'all think I'm going to find a dental hygienist that knows Lovelady? Like, I don't have those in my pocket. And
Yes,
Dr.
you do.
Yeah, right. Dr. Brindley and Dr. Alexander was like, surely there's somebody. And then Monica, I believe it was, overheard, said, well, Jael just completed dental hygienist school. And I'm like, no. They're like, yeah, no, I think so. And so I made that phone call.
Yes.
And I said, hey, are you done? Did you just finish dental hygiene? I think I verified it first.
You did. So didn't you? And I'll never forget that phone call, because I told you. And it was just funny to me, because being in the world in where I work, there's no Jesus and there's no faith. And it's like, so when you had said, hey, did you just finish dental hygienist school? Because I need somebody to run our dental clinic. And I said, I did, but I still haven't got my board results yet. And I still don't have my license. They may or may not give it to me. I have to wait. And you were like, oh, we're not worried about that. Or you said something like, we're not worried about that. It'll happen or something. And I was just like, oh, wow. That was so refreshing to like, yeah, there's still Jesus people. I just need to find them. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. Right. And so coming here, because I had just graduated. And
what year was this?
22.
So in 2022, and because I know we're wrapping up or out of time, I want to. So when you first came in, we had a few dentists. So you came in as our dental hygienist, and you came in. We had three dentists that were volunteering. Yeah, and we were maybe operating once a week, once every other week, maybe
every other week,
right?
Yeah,
and maybe serving maybe 10 women a month. Okay.
Roughly.
And so just like now, can you tell us what we're doing? Can you tell our people what we're doing? Just so God knows, just how God moved. And women are getting their smiles back here, not physically and spiritually.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. So today we have Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have Dr. Nelson that is here. We do everything from crowns to fillings to extractions, partials, dentures. And then we have a few oral surgeons that rotate through. Recently started placing implants for employees here, sinus lifts, extractions, anything that they could need done. Obviously, as a hygienist, we do offer cleanings. We treated we had 1,600 office visits last year. We delivered 400 partials and dentures last year. And I think we restored about 100 and something, 200 and something teeth. So we are in business almost every day.
I love when you say we restore. How many teeth?
Around 200.
Because we talk about restoring lives. Yes. Which only God can restore lives, but that's what our hand is in doing. Yes. And so then our dental clinics restoring teeth. I love
Absolutely.
It. Go ahead.
But to see the difference that it makes. And, just to be here, and sometimes I just sit back and I don't know many people here unless they smile at me. And then I'm like, oh, I remember her.
Yeah.
Oh, we did her, but just to see them make this whole transformation has been truly a blessing. Because when I was in school, I'm a hygienist. We didn't do much with dentures. Yeah. But I did know that the little that we did do with dentures, I didn't want anything to do with it because it was messy. It was long. I didn't want to.
And here we are fixing to open up our own denture lab.
Yeah, denture lab. Yeah, I love it. It's like the Lord's like, oh, you're so cute. You have plans.
so cute, so cute. So moral of the story it's a beautiful story of redemption. When you think of someone coming in handcuffs and now our dental hygienist with a college grad kid and son going into college
Yes.
and just, not loving people, but now loving people as Jesus loves them. And
Yes.
just a beautiful, beautiful story of redemption and restoration. And this podcast being The Legacy Continues.
Yes.
I love that, the legacy that you're leaving for your children, that perseverance, that determination,
Yeah.
that love for others, the love of Jesus that shines through you. You are definitely leaving that legacy, and I know my mom would be proud. I know she would
I
be.
miss her. I love her so much.
Oh Lord,
She was amazing.
she,
She was amazing.
she was. She was loved you very much. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing your
absolutely.
story
Thank
and
you
doing
for
this
having
today.
me.
Absolutely, and thank y'all for listening. I hope that anyone out there that not sure, unsure of, you feel like your life might, you're in that addiction, or you don't know what to do next. Just
take
get
the
one,
step.
give it to Jesus, take
Yeah.
the steps, and
Get out of your own way.
amen,
Get
amen,
out of your own-
and hang your plans up,
Yeah.
and just tell the Lord, let him do his thing,
Just
'cause it's
your
beautiful.
will.
Yeah, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.